From the home of the reigning national champion for NCAA women's soccer, Florida State University, I'm David Peters, and this is the Open Division Lottery Draw for the 2019 NIRSA National Soccer Championships. Welcome to this special edition of Series Talk from the NIRSA Championship Series, where we will select today 24 men's and 24 women's teams to comprise the Open Division of the 2019 NIRSA National Soccer Championships coming to Round Rock, Texas, November 21st through 23rd. The NIRSA Championship Series is part of NIRSA, the Association for Collegiate Recreation Programs at colleges and universities all across North America. And from flag football to basketball, tennis to soccer, the NIRSA Championship Series provides premier championship experiences delivered by qualified experts within a safe and inclusive environment. This year's NIRSA National Soccer Championships will once again feature two divisions, the Open Division, for which we'll select 48 teams today, and our Championship Division, in which more teams, 48 in all, will qualify in regular season and regional tournament action in the coming weeks. Let's take a look at the breakdown of teams in the lottery and the available bids by region.
Each of our 6 regions receives 4 bids for men's teams and 4 bids for women's teams. This year, the men's division in Region 4 had only 3 entries. The 4th bid from that region will be drawn as a 5th selection for Region 1, which is the men's region with the most entries in the draw. The first 4 teams drawn today from each of NIRSA's 6 regions, with the exception of those 2 regions, will be entered into the Open Division tournament. We will draw all of the remaining teams in the lottery process to create an ordered list of alternates in each region. Teams that receive an Open Division lottery bid today and then qualify later this fall for the Championship Division will have their entry fee and registration automatically transferred over to participate in the Championship bracket, and their spot in the Open Division will be made available to the next team on the region's waitlist. Those teams that received bids that later become unable to attend will also open up spots for waitlist teams. Team representatives are contacted by NIRSA when spots open up.
All right, let's talk about how the draw will work today. I'm joined by my colleagues in Florida State Campus Rec, Carrie Scott, Kate Blosser, and Ian Michael, also NIRSA members. And in preparation for today's draw, all of our teams that were entered were printed on a card. It looks like this. You'll see in bold letters on the front. Actually, your name is on the back because I'll use it to read it out. They're all placed in a security envelope, as you can see here. And on the back of the envelope, we've written the division and the region. It's the only thing on the envelopes. We just don't mess up the stacks. They all go in by stack into our basket right here. We will shuffle them up in the basket during the draw, pull them out, open the envelope, and show them to you. I'll read the name off the back, and we'll be ready to go. That's how the draw will work today. Now, after all of our regions are drawn, we'll finish the show today with some key reminders for team captains and team representatives, so please stick around. And you'll be able to review all of the information from today, the complete draw list, along with other tournament news online in the soccer section of NIRSAplay.com. It's time to get started. We'll begin with the women, and this year we're going to start out west with regions 4, 5, and 6. And so in the women's draw, Region 4 has 6 teams. Here are those bids. 4 of those bids, 2 will be alternates out of the 6 teams that are going into the basket right now. We will shuffle those around and get started. And our first team here in Region 4 for the women is St. Edwards, followed by Texas A&M Galveston. Toss those around a little more. Up next, Missouri. And the 4th bid goes to LSU. And now our wait list here in region number 4 will include Texas Tech, and finally, WashU St. Louis. And that's a look at women's region 4. Let's continue on now with women's region 5. Thanks so much, Carrie. In region number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 total teams. Again, 4 bids in this region as we shuffle those around a little bit, get them all going. So 4 bids, 5 alternates. And we will begin with, in Region 5, Colorado. Followed by Minnesota. Iowa State. And our last bid will go to Northern Colorado. Let's get that wait list going of our alternates. First up is Air Force, Fort Lewis, Colorado Springs, or UCCS. Colorado School of Mines, or Mines. And finally, Colorado State. Those are your teams in women's Region 5. All right, time to go for region number 6. A whole handful of teams here. We will draw all of these teams, and then we'll make sure that we have, again, the 4 bids and 8 alternates. 12 total teams. Let's get them in here and give them a good shuffle, and then we will get going. Region 6 for the women, we'll start with San Diego State. Cal Poly. Oregon. And the 4th bid to Western Oregon. Now our alternates. Southern Cal. Cal Berkeley. Arizona. UC Santa Barbara. UCLA. Cal State San Marcos. Montana State. And finally, Gonzaga. And those are the teams for our first 3 regions in the women, 4, 5, and 6. Let's pause for a recap. We'll come back and start the men's draw coming up. So let's start again with our men's draw, staying out west, regions 4, 5, and 6. And as you heard earlier, we only have 3 teams in our draw for Region 4 for the men, so just 3 bids. Here they are. We don't even need to pull them out too much, but we have St. Edwards, we have Kansas, and we have LSU. Those are your 3 teams in Region number 4. That 4th bid will transfer to Region 1. They had the most teams enter the lottery, and so they'll get a 5th bid for Region 1. That's coming up in just a bit. Well, let's continue on with the draw because our Region 5 does have 8 teams. Thanks, Carrie, so much. So we have those 8 names here, 4 bids, 4 alternates for Region 5 for the men. Let's shuffle up and get ready to go. All right. First bid goes to Colorado Springs, or UCCS. Next up for the men in Region 5, Colorado State. Colorado College. Finally, Iowa State. The remaining waitlist teams in Region 5 will include Minnesota State Moorhead, Colorado School of Mines, Minnesota, and finally, Colorado. Those are your teams in men's Region 5. The last one here in this segment will be our Region 6. Again, 8 teams in Region 6, so 4 bids and 4 alternates. They're all going into the basket here for the selections. And men's Region 6 will start with Cal State San Marcos, followed by Arizona, Utah Valley, and finally, UCLA. Here is our list of waitlist teams in Region 6, starting with Cal State Fullerton, Utah, Oregon, and UC Santa Barbara. And that's a look at regions 4, 5, and 6 for the men. A quick recap now, and we'll return and finish up our women's draw coming up. Time to finish up the women's draw. We're headed to the East Coast and the Northeast, in fact, for Region 1. 17 entries into the draw for Region 1, so 4 bids, and 13 alternates for the women, again, here in Region 1. So they all go in the basket. We'll do that tossing around, and we'll get going. And we're off. Region 1 for the women starts with Carnegie Mellon. Next up, Boston College. UMass Amherst. And finally, Vermont. Those are the 4 bids, but plenty of alternates ready to go here as we continue to shuffle them around a bit and start again. Pittsburgh. Penn, Boston University, Penn State, Fordham, Cornell, West Virginia, Loyola, Maryland, UMass Lowell, Villanova, Towson, UConn, and finally, the College of New Jersey. That is a look at the women's division in Region number 1. Moving on to Region 2 now, as we head to the south and southeast. 12 total teams are in the draw today. Again, 4 bids, 8 alternates. There they go into the basket. Shuffling. And we'll get started with, in Region number 2, South Florida, Emory, Georgia Southern, and finally, Virginia Tech. Our ordered wait list for Region 2 will include East Carolina, Tennessee, Kennesaw State, James Madison, Georgia, UCF, Florida Gulf Coast. And finally, for the women in Region number 2, it's Miami. All right, last region for the women is Region number 3. Head to the Midwest with 12 more teams. Again, 4 bids, 8 alternates. Into the basket they go. And Region 3 will start with Miami of Ohio, followed by Notre Dame. Next up in Region 3 is Iowa. Finally, Illinois State. The other teams in Region 3 will include Dayton, Cincinnati, Bowling Green, Illinois, Purdue, Xavier, Grand Valley State, and finally, Ohio University. Those are the teams for the women in Regions 1, 2, and 3. A quick recap coming up. We'll finish up with the men's and then finalize some captain's information, so stick around. Our last three regions for the men, ready to go. And we've got 23 teams entered in Region 1. So as I mentioned earlier, the extra bid from Region 4 comes over to Region 1. So there are 5 bids, and then there'll be 18 alternates out of this group. So they're all going into the basket. We will do some shuffling and get going here on Region 1 for the men. And we will start with Penn. Towson. Vermont. Northeastern. And that 5th bid will go to Cornell. And now the wait list comes into play. They include SUNY Cortland, Worcester Polytech or WPI, New Haven, Lehigh, Pittsburgh, Penn State, Maryland, Baltimore County, Rutgers, Montclair State, Canisius, Fordham, Elizabethtown College, Amherst College, Fairfield, Yukon, George Mason, UMass Amherst, and finally in Region 1, Villanova. A lot of teams there in Region 1, plenty of teams in Region 2 as well. We'll get started with our men's division, Region 2. Thanks, Carrie. 11 teams on this one. We have 4 bids and 7 alternates again in Region 2 as we head to the southeast. And we begin with Miami. James Madison. App State. Finally, Florida State. Continuing on, Georgia Highlands. Georgia College. Virginia Tech. High Point. Kennesaw State. Georgia Tech. And finally in Region 2, Emory. One region to go, that's Region 3. Headed to the Midwest for the men. 9 total teams have entered our tournament, or at least the lottery. We have 4 bids and 5 alternates coming out of Region number 3. And we'll begin with Xavier. Ohio U. Grand Valley State. It's jumping out of the basket. For our final selection, Purdue. Here come the alternates now in Region number 3. They will include Illinois State, Miami of Ohio, Illinois, Butler, and finally, Kent State. And that's the draw. Here's a recap of the men's teams in Regions 1 through 3 and some key information for our team captains, plus a look at our national championship tournament venue in Round Rock, Texas.
For teams that received a bid today, team representatives, either club presidents or team captains, will receive an email later today, that's Friday, October the 4th, with more information. Teams who received a bid have until Wednesday, October the 9th, to accept their bid and complete their team's registration online at imleagues.com. Final team rosters are due by Sunday, October 27th. However, teams must accept their bid and start that registration process online by Wednesday, October the 9th. If your team representative does not receive that email, please visit our website at NIRSAplay.com and click on Soccer to contact our staff for assistance. Regional tournament action takes place across the country in October, culminating with the National Championships in Round Rock, Texas, November 21st through 23rd. Here's a look at the Round Rock Multipurpose Complex as NIRSA Soccer makes its first trip to this impressive venue for the National Championships. Round Rock is just north of Austin, Texas. You can see travel tips and more information online at NIRSAplay.com.
Heading into regional play, NIRSA thanks its many regional coordinators for all of their hard work in the weeks ahead with our regional tournaments. NIRSA also thanks John Janis from the University of Houston, Danny Feitel from the University of California, Merced, and Chris McAlpine from UT Dallas, who lead dozens of NIRSA members in making our soccer championship successful. Join us for a special podcast this November after the championship division teams are finalized for a preview of the entire field of the NIRSA National Soccer Championships. I'll be joined by my Series Talk co-host Marty Dempsey and NIRSA leaders from around the country to look at the pool play selections and to talk about the entire tournament. Visit our website at NIRSAplay.com or go online to social media at NIRSAChamp for the date and time of our preview show and for coverage of all of our tournament action in the weeks ahead. But that's it for now. For the NIRSA Championship Series, I'm David Peters. Good luck to all of our teams in regional play, and we hope to see you in the weeks ahead in Round Rock, Texas. That's in November, the 21st through the 23rd for the 26th Annual NIRSA National Soccer Championship. Series Talk is a production of NIRSA. leaders in collegiate recreation.